These screens.
Okay, back in meetings called to order. First thing is the public hearing and presentations. 2019-20 school calendar as provided by state statute and duly published. A public hearing will be held at 5:30 p.m., at which time citizens may be heard on the 2019-2020 school calendar. 2019-2020 school calendar presentation.
So we talked at the January 3rd meeting and several meetings before that. The calendar committee began its meeting in mid-November, and the calendar committee is comprised of parents, teachers, administrators, students from the high school and junior high school, and also our student rep to the board, Dan King. Those students on the committee are part of the presidents of the student council for both those buildings, and we developed some drafts of the calendar that, and we share with the group the state statute relative to the calendar. The calendar for next year, the statute has changed a minimum of 1,044 hours, even though we had already been on an hours-based calendar. That now is kind of the rule, so to speak, so it doesn't matter how you get to 1,044, but in there you have to have time built in for inclement weather days. So our calendar does exceed the state minimum. It always has, and we always make up the days of instruction that are lost. So philosophically, we believe more time with students is better, and that's the way that's positioned. So the parameters that we operate in, most people want to start as late as they can in August, and they want to end before Memorial Weekend, and want us to make sure that we protect the integrity of spring break because it aligns directly with the university, and maximize the time at Christmas. So when you take all those wants and desires into consideration, and you see that the hours of instruction are there, there's really very little wiggle room. In years past, we've the inclement weather days, there's 6 built in, 4 at the end of the calendar, meaning that if we get into that, we end up extending the school year up to Memorial Weekend. I would remind you, too, that we got summer school, which starts after Memorial Weekend. There's a week there, and we try to get summer school in the month of June so we can get July to have our schools ready for school to start. The new teachers are back August 2nd. So when you look at how much room you have, there's very little. The 2 days that are in the calendar are Martin Luther King Day and their President's Day. A lot of districts around our area do have 2 days built in, 4 at the end. I call it 2 in, 4 out. Ours is that way, and this proposal that's before you is that way too. The change that we made is that the first snow makeup day will be President's Day, meaning February, was that 15th? Date would become the first snow makeup to 17th. The second one is Martin Luther King Day. Now, some have asked in years past, and I shared at the January 3rd meeting, that 50% of the time in the last 10 years, we have been in session for Martin Luther King Day. In other words, it's just the way the snow days have worked. If we push the first snow day to the presidents and the second Martin Luther King, that further protects that holiday from being the first snow makeup day, if that makes sense. And if you're really a betting person, you would bet that we're only going to have 3 days of snow makeup during a year, then you can get real cavalier with the rest of it. Some ask what's your average number of days you miss, and it's been about 3. And we had this discussion with the Ozark Conference superintendents too. So the difference between the draft early on and the calendar before you is we're further working to protect Martin Luther King Day by moving it as the second snow makeup day. Right now, for this calendar, this year, we had 1 snow day, and that was before Thanksgiving, which is really odd for us, and that first snow makeup day is Martin Luther King Day. So, but next year that wouldn't be the case if this calendar were the one for next year. Does that make sense now? So what you have before you is what's been shared out since November. It's been on our website. It's been at all the buildings. We've taken comments on that with the committee, and the recommendation would be that we adopt the calendar 1920 as presented on page 4 of your packet, and it is the one that's out on the district website right now, which is draft, and if you approve this, we'll move it to the regular calendar, and then make sure we contact the surrounding school districts that are part of our Career Tech Center consortium, because they really want to know what our calendar is going to be as soon as possible so they can set theirs. Happy to entertain any questions.
Okay, there is time for public comment. If anyone would like to be making a comment, you're granted 5 minutes to do so. Okay, then is there a motion to adopt the 2019-2020 school calendar?
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2019-2020 school calendar.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign? All right. Thank you.